Nikko Jenkins is an American serial killer who was convicted of 4 killings in August 2013 in Omaha, Nebraska. His case is unusual in that he comes from a criminal family, and other members of his family assisted him in the crime. Jenkins' narrative is unusual, largely because how early he began his criminal doings and the reason he cites for it. According to the convicted killer, he murdered 4 people, 3 men and 1 woman, as a sacrifice to the Egyptian snake god Apophis or Apep. Lori Jenkins and David A. Maggie gave birth to Nikko Allen Jenkins on September 16, 1986, in Colorado, United States. The couple had a total of 6 children. Maggie and Jenkins were not married at the time of Nikko's birth. They were never married, in reality. Maggie died in 2009, having been convicted of many terrorist threats at the time of his death. Jenkins and his sister were up in the household renowned for perpetrating violent crime in Omaha, Nebraska. In reality, at least 38 members of Jenkins' family had been convicted of crime over the course of several generations. Jenkins had been subject to physical abuse and criminal behavior by his parents since he was a child, and all he was ever knew was violence. Nikko Jenkins began his criminal activity at the age of 7, when he brought a pistol to school. Thankfully, no one was injured. Jenkins then was charged with carjacking and severe assault at the age of 15, and when he was 16, he was sentenced to 21 years in jail. He was freed after serving 10 of the 21 years he was sentenced to. He was rearrested a month later after committing 4 murders in 10 days. Nikko Jenkins comes from a disturbed family with a history of committing terrible crimes for centuries. The irony is that the Jenkins are descended from the Levering family of Omaha, Nebraska, who are noted for their good reputation. However, it appears that the family is having difficulty disengaging from violence since they got entangled with it. Several members of the Nikko Jenkins immediate family have likewise been convicted of serious crime. Nikko Jenkins' mother is Lori Jenkins. The 51-year-old was found guilty of obstructing justice and submitting false information concerning ammunition purchase. Even back then, she was acquitted for delivering gasoline to her son and his uncle Warren Levering in order to dispose of the evidence. The court decided that she had no idea what the gasoline was for. Despite this, she was given a sentence of 5 to 6 years in prison. She had previously been sentenced to 10 years in prison for being a criminal possession of ammunition. Nikko Jenkins' sister, Erica Jenkins, was also engaged in his killings. Jenkins' first 2 victims were enticed to their death by her and another woman. She also cooperated in the murder of Jenkins' third victim, Curtis Bradford and Kruger. She was convicted of the murder of Bradford and sentenced to life in prison. She is also serving a 10-year term for crimes connected to the murder, as well as a 20 to 30-year sentence for assaulting fellow inmates Christine Burdax, who happens to be her cousin. During Erica and Nikko trial, Burdax testified against them. The Jenkins family is led by David A. Maggie Sr., patriarch. He is the father of Lori Jenkins' 6 children despite never marrying her. He was also a criminal convicted of multiple offenses before he died in 2009. Nikko Jenkins' uncle, Warren Levering, assisted him in the robbery and the assassination of Andrea Kruger. In the killing of Kruger, he pled guilty to attempt robbery and accessory counts. He was charged with 5th-degree murder and sentenced to 40 years in jail, despite the fact that he did not murder Kruger. After serving half of his sentence, he was freed in 2020. Erica Jenkins' younger sister, Lori Sales, was also an accessory to Jenkins' murder. She was charged with murder and accused of concealing the murder weapon in connection with Bradford's death. Melanie Jenkins is Nikko Jenkins' sister, and she too had been convicted for many charges. She testified against Erica during her murder trial. Although she is presently out of prison, she had 3 children under the age of 7 at the time of his arrest. Nikko Jenkins was involved in a series of spree killings within 10 days after regaining his freedom after being released from jail in 2013. On August 11, 2013, a police officer in Spring Lake Park, Omaha, discovered 2 dead in a white pickup truck. The 2 men were shot in the head and had their pocket turned inside out. It seems like a robbery was followed by a homicide. Juan Uribe-Pena and George C. Cajiga-Ruiz were recognized. The third murder victim is Curtis Bradford. Jenkins' sister, Erica Jenkins, and his cousin Christine Burdax had brought the 2 men there under the guise of having sexual intercourse. Curtis Bradford's body was discovered with 2 gunshot wounds in his back on August 19, 2013. Jenkins and Bradford had posed for a Facebook photo the day before. Andrea Kruger, Jenkins' fourth and last victim, was murdered and her corpse dumped on the street. Her automobile was located 12 miles distant from her corpse while he was driving home from work. An effort was made to set fire to the car inside, according to investigators. Jenkins was arrested on August 30, 2013 for making terroristic threat against his then wife, Shalonda Jenkins, who had reported him. She has been outspoken in her criticism of his treatment, claiming that he suffers from mental health issues and wouldn't stand a chance on release. Although Shalonda had a kid with another guy during their marriage, there is no record of them having children together. Jenkins later confessed to the murders in the Mandarin 8-hour interview on September 3rd. He said that the killing was performed as offering to the Egyptian god Apophis, or Apep, and that the hieroglyphic tattoo on his face was also meant to honor the same god. He had also attempted to carve 666 into his forehead using a mirror, but it came out backwards, reading as 999 instead. Jenkins was charged with 4 charges of murder after his confession, to which he pled guilty. He stated that he carried out the atrocities on Apophis' order and vows to protect the deity with animalistic terrible violence in a handwritten letter. Jenkins filed a lawsuit against the state of Nebraska in February 2014, alleging that he should not have been freed early and that his allegation of hearing voices from Apophis had been dismissed. He also requested $24.5 million for being held in solitary confinement, claiming that it aggravated his schizophrenia. A court ordered a psychiatric evaluation during his trial, and mental health doctors decided that he had an antisocial personality disorder and was feigning psychotic symptoms to avoid taking responsibility. During his trial, Jenkins shouted in his tongues, howled, and laughed as prosecutors recounted the circumstances of his victim's death. Jenkins was sentenced to death and 450 years in prison in May 2017 by a 3-judge jury on weapon charges. The highest court denied his attempt to appeal the ruling on April 20, 2020. Nikko Jenkins is one of the most hardened killers on death row, and he appears to have no remorse for the murders he carried out. It might be said that his demise was virtually expected for someone who began his criminal career at the age of 7. Nikko Jenkins is presently incarcerated, waiting his execution date, which has yet to be determined. He is still on death row in Nebraska, but no date has been set for his execution yet. In any case, the ramifications of his deeds appear to have caught up with him, and there appeared to be no way out this time.